People talk about ego death like it's some cool mystical badge, a moment where you disappear into pure light and come back enlightened. The phrase sounds dramatic, even glamorous, but if you've ever brushed against it for real, you know it can feel less like a pretty concept and more like a kind of dying while you're still very much alive. Not the death of your body, but the death of who you think you are. The ego here doesn't mean selfishness or vanity. It's the whole structure that says, this is me, my name, my story, my roles, personal history, beliefs, opinions, wounds, achievements, shame, pride, the invisible glue that holds all of it together. For most of your life, this structure feels solid and obvious. You don't question it. You wake up and slip into yourself like a familiar outfit. Ego death is when, suddenly or slowly, that outfit starts to fall apart, and for a moment you don't know who or what is underneath. It can begin very subtly. You might notice moments where your usual reactions don't make sense anymore, or where the things that used to define you, your job, your relationship, your successes and failures, feel strangely empty. Or it can arrive like a shock, an intense spiritual experience, a deep loss, a crisis, a powerful practice, or even just a random moment where something in you cracks open. The story you've always told yourself about who you are stops fitting, and for a while, there is nothing to replace it. From the inside, ego death can feel like disorientation. I don't know who I am anymore. People around you might say, you're still you, but their words don't reach the place that's shaking. You can feel like a stranger in your own life, walking through familiar rooms that somehow look different because the person looking through your eyes is not the same. There may be fear, a deep, primal fear, because the ego doesn't experience this as a metaphor, it experiences it as dying. The defenses that always protected you from pain, shame, vulnerability, and uncertainty are dissolving, and they don't let go quietly. At the same time, many people report a strange spaciousness hidden inside the terror. When the usual me loosens, there can be brief gaps where there is just awareness. Breathing happening, life happening. Sensations arising and passing without the constant commentary of my life, my problem, my success, my failure. In those gaps, it can feel like you are both nothing and somehow more connected to everything. There's a softness. You look at the world and realize that every person you see is carrying a fragile identity too, defending themselves against the same basic fear of being nobody. But the journey is rarely neat. Ego death isn't a clean cut. It comes in waves. An opening, then a contraction, a moment of clarity, then old patterns rushing back even stronger, trying to reassert control. You might swing between humility and defensiveness, peace and panic, clarity and confusion. Part of you knows you can't go back to the old story, and another part desperately tries to rebuild it. That tension can feel exhausting. It's important to remember that although the language sounds dramatic, ego death does not mean you vanish or become a blank robot. You still need a functional personality to live, work, love, and navigate the world. What actually shifts is your relationship with that personality. Instead of believing, this story is absolutely who I am, something in you starts to see. This is a role, a costume, a moving shape in a much bigger space of awareness. The costume doesn't disappear. It becomes lighter, less rigid. You can wear it without being trapped in it. There is also a mental health side that shouldn't be ignored. Very intense experiences of identity dissolving can overlap with or trigger psychological crises. If ego death comes with persistent thoughts of self-harm, inability to function, hearing commanding voices, total disconnection from reality, or overwhelming terror that doesn't let up, this isn't something to romanticize or handle alone. Professional support, therapy, medical help, grounded people can be crucial. Protecting your brain, your body, and your basic safety is not the opposite of awakening. It is part of honoring life. What does dying while alive really mean then? It means that the old version of you, the one built entirely out of fear, image, and control, is slowly losing its absolute grip. The death is the collapse of the belief that you are only that story. What remains is still a human, imperfect, emotional, limited, but with a little more space around the edges, space to choose differently, space to admit you don't know, space to love without needing to be special, space to feel pain without being defined by it. It's okay if who I thought I was is changing. I don't have to disappear. I'm allowed to grow into something truer, one honest moment at a time.